probably smell a good chip shop, I would say about 3.5 miles without a problem.
Oh, you just get that smell. You want to get about, John, in the shop, get a bag of chips.
In Scotland, where the streets are paved with chippies, the seductive smell of salt, sauce and vinegar has tempted us for over 100 years. And despite competition, the humble fish supper is still the most popular dish in the country, with chippies outnumbering McDonald's 8-1. But with over 1,000 chip shops in Scotland, which one can truly claim to be Scotland's best chippy? Every year in Scotland, a competition takes place to find the best chippy, judged by the industry authority Seafish. This year's hopefuls have already been whittled down to 10, and it's now all down to one man to make the final decision. This man's enviable mission is to judge the top 10 finalists by eating a fish supper in each. His name is Andy, but his identity is a secret, because he's a fry spy, the undercover judge of Scotland's best chippy. His identity is kept under wraps to ensure this man of mystery will just be any other customer to the top 10 finalists. And this year's top 10 finalists are Mike's Famous Fish and Chips Aberdeen, Cafe Royal Annan, Zanray's Fraserburgh, Captain Nemo's and the Sun Fish and Chicken Bar Glasgow, Dom's in Glenrothes, Harry Ramsden's Inverness, Zanray's Mint Law in Peterhead, and Land and Sea Polmont. And it's now up to Andy to fillet and gut the top 10 down to 3. And there's only one way to do that, by eating lots of fish and chips. Andy's first strike is Zanray's in Peterhead. And they don't suspect a thing. For the other shops, it's a waiting game.
I reckon we'd be able to spot them. There was somebody who came in here, I think the first Thursday the competition got launched, and I went through to the bag and I'm just like, I can put money on the judges, and of course I never came back in, I'm like, oh well, maybe not.
Every day you could say that there's a mystery shopper. For example, just before I started speaking to you, I had 3 gentlemen in who both had, 3 of them had suits on. They all bought fish and chips. They all paid separately, and they all asked for receipts. So you think to yourself, ha-ha.
So just come on.
For Susan, there's definitely something fishy going on.
Wait, this guy's the judge. We're waiting on a mystery shopper coming in. You could be it.
Fish and chips were invented by the English, but it was actually a Belgian who first brought the fried potato to Scotland in 1874. Edward de Genier sold them from a stall in Dundee's Green Market, and they soon became a very popular food amongst Dundonians, who up to then had been living on a diet of jute and jam. It was a simple yet nourishing meal, a universal street food, and the original fast food. His speciality was a buster, which was chips served with hot peas and vinegar.
Peas and vinegar were called a buster because they caused a bust of wind.
Meanwhile, back at Land and Sea, Susan is still trying to spot the judge.
Wait, this guy's the judge.
But as Andy enters for real, will she blow his cover?
I don't recognise these two. Do you recognise them?
Andy judges the supper back in the sanctuary of his car.
Good crispy batter, no sign of bones. Again, there's really little discoloration, it's still a good creamy white flesh.
Judging over, it's time for Andy to expose himself as the mystery shopper.
Please to meet you. How you doing?
You obviously realise why I'm here.
I couldn't have come at a worse time. There he is.
You're not going to believe this. I don't believe this is a setup. How are you?
Oh my god. I didn't even see him coming in the shop, no. I had no idea who he was. Like I'm walking in the front door there.
Judge requires access for your preparation area where a quick visual check of your facilities will be carried out.
I can't believe this.
Deliberately catching the shops off guard, Andy begins his inspection.
We'll wait to see him.
That, folks, is the Chip Shop of the Year competition going on right now.
But just how do you judge a fish supper?
Someone like yourself asks, what is it you're looking for? It's hard to explain in simple words. It's either got it or it hasn't got it. So it's down to pure experience. The more you taste, the better you get.
Fish and chips is just the perfect food. Simple as that.
They're more than a meal. They're part of a way of life, a social bond, a symbol.
You get the perfect fish supper. There is nothing to beat it.
Very good.
It was part of our heritage, fish and chips. We wouldn't have, and because we weren't allowed to have it very often. You know, that's what made it all the better.
Every meal, certainly, that I ate as a youngster had chips with it. You know, and that was just for guys my generation, that was the norm. You had chips every night of the week.
It was Italian immigrants who took chips off the streets and opened up the first proper chip shops at the turn of the century. They elevated fish suppers into an art form.
The cheapest way for them to start a business up was to rent a ground floor flat. They either opened the window or altered the window, or if they were fortunate enough to have a door just within the close, they opened the door and the public came in and bought their fish and chips.
What my mother would do is she would send me down, say she'd made something, I don't know, opened a tin of corned beef. She'd say, go down and get 9 items worth of chips. This is for 5 of us. Go down and get 9 items worth of chips. Take the bowl. Do I have to take the bowl? Take the bowl. You know, and you're standing in a queue with a bowl. And because my mother said you got more if you took the bowl. It was awful. You'd only get a fish supper, you know, if it was something like the report line was out for somebody, your mother to rush to the hospital. That meant that somebody was seriously ill and the police came to the door and told you about it. And my mother said, oh, it was terrible. He was lying there dying. Do you know I had to send out for a fish supper? And that was her justifying the fact that she actually spent money on a fish supper.
People then were very, very fussy about the quality of the fish, and they were fussy about the oil and the fat that they fried them in. And I think that we did have a great quality fish and chip supper here in Scotland because of the Italians.
If you ever want to get a fish in your eye, just mention a Saturday night fish fry. I don't care how many fish in the sea, but don't ever mention a fish to me.
And of course, what flavour enhancement you choose is also of great importance to the aficionado.
Anything that gets a good rift, because you need that with fish and chips. That is the killer. You need to drink something gassy, something freezing cold and gassy, and then you're looking at maybe a quarter of the fish supper left, and as much as you love it, you're like, I'm struggling here, and then bow, you know, like the best ones. I mean, Ricky Fulton in Scotch and Rye was the greatest exponent of riffs. He used to work one into almost every sketch.
No.
If you can get one of them out and then that great way, you know, and you think, hallelujah, I'm starving again, and away you go, you tear in and you finish it, you know.
Salt and vinegar.
Your condiment also tells us a lot about where you live. Salt and sauce means you're probably from the east, while salt and vinegar means you're definitely west coast.
Salt and vinegar. Salt and vinegar.
Traditionally, the brown sauce was sold in the east coast and in particular in Edinburgh, and onions were sold in the west coast.
Salt and vinegar.
Brown sauce.
Salt and vinegar.
Brown sauce. Sauce just makes them too soggy. Salt and vinegar's good enough.
Oh, I give it big belters on it.
And that's wrong. Why is that? Because you know it's cultural, you have to salt and vinegar. Salt and vinegar. And they say salt sauce, dead fast.
I don't understand about those Edinburgh people, you know, salt and sauce.
It's going to be salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar all the way, you know.
Over many years, we have noticed that the sales for the brown sauce has grown in the west and the sales for chip onions have grown in the east. So there's been a balancing there.
And he would know, since he's been making brown sauce with the same family recipe for over 100 years.
Brown sauce is really originally from India. I mean, there was loads of recipes that were picked up by the colonials. They came home with all sorts of wild and wonderful recipes for spicy, vinegary sauces.
So how do they make this family recipe?
Well, that's a family secret, and that is held in the vaults of the Black family, and it will never be revealed. I enjoy a fish supper, and when I go in for a fish supper, I order my fish supper, my chip onions, my eggs, my gherkins, and my sauce.
Pickled eggs, I think pickled eggs are very things that, you know, people, they know about them, they've seen them, but you just wouldn't really try them.
Don't like pickled eggs.
Oh no, they're rotten.
No, I'm not into it. Eggs, you either scramble them, fry them, or boil them. You don't pickle them.
I've never seen actually anybody ordering one in a chip shop.
Aye. I buy them all the time, they're crying.
Once I tried it and it's quite nice, but I wouldn't buy it every day.
My mate, in his infinite wisdom, he tried one, and he basically ate the tap off it and then basically spewed and put the rest of it in the tap of his pint. But just by biting the tap off of this, all this stink just sort of flew out the rest of the egg, and it, honestly, we almost had to leave the pub. It is this horrible, horrible stinky kind of rotten eggs, vinegar, and a wee hint of beer. Was just sort of all over the pub, and it was absolutely bouffing.
Oh, yes.
If you can make your mind up, we'll never get started. And I don't want to wind up being parted, broken hearted. But if you don't, dear,
beautiful.
Confess.
Love it.
And please don't tell me.
It's an egg that's been pickled, it's fine.
Oh, spit that
It's quite nice, actually. In a strange sort of way.
Moving swiftly on, the top 3 chip shops in Scotland are Zanray's in Peterhead, run by Eddie Mair, national winners in 1998. Of course, being next to one of Europe's biggest fish markets definitely helps.
What I feel would make us stand out of the other 2 competitors in the competition is our fish fillets are the freshest because of our location in Peterhead. Sarah Morrison's actually been here since she was 14. She's worked her way up to become unit manageress, and her abilities are really second to none when it comes to frying fish and chips.
It's a nice crispy batter which just finishes off the fish perfectly. I can't tell you what's in it, it is top secret, but I know it makes a difference. We're chuffed that we've got this far. This is the first year we've done it since we actually won it in 1998. We're really chuffed that we've done it and we'll do our best.
Contender number 2 is last year's runner-up, Harry Ramsden's in Inverness, run by Alan Smith.
I was bitterly disappointed not to receive the award last year, so this time around I've pulled out all the stops and I've just gone for it.
Harry Ramsden's is the only shop in the top 3 using frozen fish.
I think there's a fallacy about frozen fish. People think it's inferior, but fresh, well, the boat could go out, it could spend a week at sea, then obviously the customer himself will maybe use that fish within 2 to 3 days. So we're over 10 days really. Frozen at sea, the fish is usually caught, cleaned, filleted, and frozen within 24 hours. I still maintain that at the end of the day, this is a good quality product.
May the best man win at the end of the day, and guarantee you I will be visiting the winning shop if it's not myself, because I want to see what they're doing that we're not.
And the final contender is Land and Sea in Polmont, run by new girl on the block, Susan Leong.
If I was a customer, I'd want to be able to eat a fish supper in confidence. So what we'll do is actually, I'm just going to check to see if there's any, so there's a bone there. And it's, you know, we can find bones that are slightly smaller than that, but that is what makes all the difference to a good fish supper and a bad one. No bones, no skin, just a good piece of fish, nice fresh piece of fish, crispy batter, nice chips. You can't beat it.
Mind you, not that Susan would know.
Basically, the only reason I don't eat fish is because I'm allergic to it. That's why you usually see me with plasters and everything on my fingers and that. So, which is a real shame, I have to say, real shame. But it means I don't eat any of the profits.
Let the judging begin. And if they thought Andy's first inspection was scary, this one lasts for over 3 nerve-wracking hours. But when the chips are down, it all hinges on a fish supper. Or to be more precise, 3.
Can I ask you to cook off 3 portions of fish and chips, wrapped and packed? Pack them up, package them as though I was going to take them away as a customer. And I'll do some tests in the back room. Thank you very much.
Andy tests 3 suppers at timed intervals to simulate the drive home. This is crunch time for the hopeful Friars. Can they produce 3 award-winning suppers? Or will their winning dream go up in smoke?
Easy peasy, man. Go on.
I've got confidence in you, that's why I let you do it.
Nervous. Very nervous. Could maybe burn the fish, or I could undercook it. I won't.
Just going to take them straight through, right?
Fine, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Lorraine. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks. Thanks.
Part of me's relieved it's all over. So obviously now it's the worst part is waiting to see what's going to happen.
Excited. Just want to win now. Come this far. Everything's just been absolutely magic.
From one end of the scale to the other, there's a problem with Harry Ramsden's fish.
What we did was we cooked off about 6 or 7. Obviously picked the best ones from that, and then just checked that. That'll be coming up for 8 minutes now. So just sampled ourselves in the box to see. It's all right, but I'm not 100% happy with it. I thought the batter was a bit thin, and it could have done with a bit longer.
I always feel I could have done better, but then again, you can only do your best at the time. So just fingers crossed, really.
And I've been marking it over 11 categories, ranging from fish taste. Does the product exhibit a dry and fibrous texture, batter, form? And it's scored highly in all the categories so far. Really tasty, lovely batter, lovely and crisp, golden colour.
You never get an indication as well. We've been in this scenario before last year, and we never get an indication to how we've done, so... Well, let's see.
He has just eaten the 3rd one.
It's going to be a difficult decision. It's going to be right down to the wire. They are neck and neck.
The stakes are high, because winning the competition not only brings legendary status in the frying world, but it can also bring a real economic boost, as the current reigning champions can testify.
Bus party, 25 fish suppers.
Well, it made the shop more well known further afield and gave folk perhaps who come on holiday to the area the chance to come and visit the fish bar, and hopefully we provided them with what they wanted, and that would ensure future trade also.
The fish supper is now our unofficial national dish. We scoff an incredible 11 million a year, making it the most popular fast food.
We just thought we'd give it a break this year, really. I mean, it's a lot of work, on top of a lot of work, to win the competition, and after 2 years winning it in Scotland, we thought we'd give it a break and just see how things...
Regroup, as it were.
Retreat and regroup.
Like to be beside the seaside. Oh, I do like to be beside the sea.
I just hope she's not driving.
One chicken stuffer, one single special fish, one rolling fritter, 3 pickles, 2 sachets of red sauce, and 1 bottle of Tizer. £16.80.
There you are, my delightful wee bottle. Keep the change.
What about your suppers?
Oh, hang the suppers. We're paying for the banter.
So, what makes a good fish supper?
You're just too good to be true.
I would always advise anybody, when you get the fish, don't be ashamed to say to the guy behind the counter, look, just put it in the oven there for a wee bit and just let it cool down ever so slightly, but let any remaining grease just sort of evaporate or run out, whatever, and you've got lovely crispy fish, and it's just beautiful. And I'm sitting here with an erection.
This is my very favourite recipe for batter for fish. It's incredibly simple. It's a lovely crispy batter. All you've got to do first of all, sieve some plain flour, about 110 grams, and that's going to be enough batter for 4 people. Bit of salt, about a teaspoon of baking powder, the secret ingredient, which is some beer. And then the other kind of special touch is 1 lightly whisked egg white, and then that is more or less it. That's the batter done. So now I can start organising the chips. Hi Teresa, can I have a large bag of chips please? I always go to the chip shop for chips if I possibly can, because you can't beat chip shop chips. Fantastic. Okay, thanks a lot then. Thanks, bye. Delicious.
1 custody meal, deliver it in 5 minutes, is that okay?
And for some, takeaway fish suppers are the only option.
Hiya. That's great. Thanks very much. Spank
It's a unique taste. You just can't get it at home, no matter how hard you try.
It's probably the oil's about a week old, but it all adds to the flavour, I suppose.
Well, it's easy. It's nice and greasy and fills the spot.
Oh, you just get that smell and it just kind of makes you feel you want to get about turn in the shop, get a bag of chips.
I challenge anyone not to walk past a chippy and smell that warm, attractive smell coming out and not want to do something about it.
But is there a price to pay for our love of fish and chips?
I'm not having a fish supper for the good of my health, you know. I don't care. When I eat fish and chips, I do not care about what's the nutritional value, what's that doing to me, what's that doing to me. Life is too short.
Good news though, Tam, as surprisingly, an average portion of fish and chips contains 3 times less fat than the equivalent portion of chicken tikka masala.
No, it's not unhealthy. I mean, what is unhealthy is the sort of junk food that will keep for 10 years in a paper bag, you know, like a burger or something like that. But this isn't unhealthy, no, it's good fresh fish.
No, the balanced diet is a fish supper on one hand and the smoked sausage supper on the other. That's my idea of a balanced diet, definitely, every time.
I don't think people will stop eating it. And, you know, for all the pundits tell us to eat salad, most people don't. Thank God.
I think it's the healthiest food and it's the best value that you can get as fish suppers. And don't forget, I think it won this country 2 world wars, I think, the fish supper, because I think that's what fed the population when they couldn't afford to buy anything else.
Yes, our secret weapon against Hitler was the good old chippy. Never in the field of human conflict have so few served so much to so many.
It was the only thing during the war that wasn't rationed. I mean, Lord Wootton said, you know, fish and chips will not be rationed. For people who were munitions workers, who were engineers, factory workers, fish and chips was a staple diet.
Sir Winston Churchill called them the good companion. Certainly no other food has won such a special place in the British way of life.
The army actually set up camps where they had fish and chip mobile vans, if you like, feeding the troops.
It's been said that the British Tommy has 3 basic needs. Shops in Nicosia cater for 2 of them, fish and chips.
So in a very real sense, they were training on fish and chips, and you could say that fish and chips actually won the war for us.
Despite fears about dwindling fish stocks, we still consume more than 200,000 fish suppers a week, and the most popular day is a Friday. Traditionally, this was because the government and Catholic Church were in cahoots,
Would you like a piece of fish?
making Friday a meat-free day to preserve meat stocks and boost the fishing fleet. Nowadays, it's more to do with soaking up alcohol.
Excuse me, do you do home delivery? Yes. What is this up the road then?
I'm a bit drunk and it tastes alright, aye. Soak up the alcohol and rejuvenate myself.
Chips are great, they stop you getting a hangover.
I'm really hungry and I'm going to a club and I need to eat something before I go.
Yeah, please. Chicken pakora chip, please. Okay.
One chippy in Edinburgh has decided to solve this problem. It's a pub, it's a disco, it's a chippy. So pop in and listen to the latest in hip-hop chip shop music. Is nothing sacred?
Would you like salt and sauce on them?
But the news you've all been waiting for. Where is Scotland's best chippy? Is it last year's runner-up Harry Ramsden's? Or will Zanrays repeat their 1998 winning performance? Or will first-time competitors Land and Sea steal victory? And the winner is Inverness's very own Harry Ramsden's.
Yes. It really can't be faulted. No, definitely is. The chips are good as well, but the fish, the bee's knees. That was the tastiest fish this week, and I think the whole judging process that I've been involved in this year. Numero uno.